on?
Okay.
Go.
My name is Ethan Phillips. I'm doing my informative speech about Parmenides. That's his face. And for my introduction, I'll be defining words. Philosophy, philo, basically means love, and Sophie means wisdom in Greek. So basically, essentially, philosophy is the love of wisdom. The second word is epistemology, and it's basically knowledge or the study of knowledge. And then there is metaphysics, which is basically the study of the highest beings, which is the soul, God, the soul, and the heavens. And for my thesis statement, Parmenides is an ancient Greek philosopher who wrote about being and how to find the truth in being and where, as humans, where we go wrong. And furthermore, his philosophy is expanded on in the future by other philosophers such as Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato. Some information about him is he was born in 515 before Christ existed. They believe that he died somewhere around 450 before Christ existed. How he died, no one knows. He was born in ancient Greece at a place specifically called Elea. I don't think it exists anymore. And he was a younger, more contemporary philosopher than Heraclitus, who was before Parmenides. And the main distinction between them is Heraclitus affirms becoming, while Parmenides refutes that and says that becoming is an illusion, it's just an appearance. He's a pre-Socratic philosopher. He was before Socrates and Plato and Aristotle. And the only real work that he ever wrote or put out there was a poem. And his main epistemology was that only the being is significant, nothing else is, everything else in life it doesn't matter. And basically the poem gets split up into 3 different parts. I'm just going to go over the middle part, which is the whole point of the poem. And then there are 2 parts. These are excerpts, or parts taken out, phrases taken out of the poem. And he turned them into concepts. And basically the first part is the way of truth, and that is, what is the same, remains the same, and is fixed within the bonds of necessity. Which essentially means that for something to be true, completely true, and eternally true, it has to always be the same. It can never change, it can never warp, and it just is what it is. But there are 3 ways of error, and there's persuasion. And persuasion is what is cannot not be. Basically, you try to persuade somebody that something is right when sometimes it may be completely wrong. And an example is like saying to your girlfriend, "You're my girlfriend now, you're never going to not be my girlfriend." Obviously, that makes no sense. And then there's ignorance. What is not cannot be. Basically, something that isn't real can't be real. If you say, if you take 2 people that are married to each other and one's an alcoholic, you can't, and the woman says to the man that he's a drunk, he'll always be drunk, and he'll never be sober. Well, that's ignorant because people change. You don't know that, despite the specifics. And the last one is seeming, and the phrase for that is what is. What is not is. Even though, and an example of that is like in verbally abusive relationships. Even though he's verbally abusive, he's still physically attractive, so she stays with him anyway. It's considered a denial of reality, which is a whole different concept of philosophy. And his main philosophy was that only the being is significant. Nothing else is. If anything is true, it's because it's always been true. And that means that the only real truth that exists concerning our being is that you are the most true to yourself when you're the most alone. This is what he thought, or what his philosophy came to be. And And basically, the conclusion basically is for something to be true, it has to always be true. So when you use higher thinking to think of it more than just him explaining two concepts, if our souls and our being can't not exist, that means we have always existed. And since we have always existed, we can't not exist. So even if all of time collapses, the only thing that would make sense from Parmenides' perspective is that time repeats itself. You were doomed to live the life you live 100 times over. It is what it is. And basically, we're all doomed to live in this constant flux. And it just shows that free will is an illusion, just like choice. Your essence never changes. It is forever imprinted in the cosmos, and when your body and mind fade away, you will only be left with sheer being. But you've gone through it an infinite number of times. And if you think about it, if there was some cosmological or divine end that's supposed to happen, considering how old the universe is, Parmenides didn't know this, but considering how old the universe is said to be, you would think that it would have happened already. And the other concept is that if there's a place where all souls go to, and since souls can't poof out of nowhere because they've always been, you would think that if they go somewhere, they would have already been there. So the only reasonable conclusion you can come to from Parmenides is that our bodies and our minds don't technically exist, but it's just what we see, and reality is subjective, and that the truth and the essence of why we live is up to question. And the real truth is that even after your mind and your body die, your essence goes somewhere. That's a whole different philosophy. It's a whole different time period, and I don't have time to go over that. But basically, for something to be true, it has to always be true. So basically, for God to exist, that means we have always existed, whether or not you call us a part of God or not. We have always existed. We will always continue to exist. And basically, we are doomed to live the lives we live forever because there's no other thing that can happen. And that's it. Okay. You don't have to stop it.
You're recording.
Okay. It's recording. No. I'm going to show off my new cards real quick. I've lost one of them, but screw it.
You lost one?
Yeah.
It blew off.
Okay,
Let's see who was paying attention. Name 3 Greek philosophers.
me, myself, and I.
That's Irene.
Curly.
It's funny though because people actually
I can't say it.
Pe-
Metaphades,
what?
whatever his name was.
Parmenides?
Yeah, Parmenides.
Yeah. It's actually funny because most people consider Socrates and Plato to be the same person because Socrates is considered the most brilliant mind that's ever existed and Plato is considered the greatest writer that's ever existed.
Really?
But they keep them as one person because Plato basically just takes what Socrates says and reforms it so stupid people know what it means.
I talked to Gary the other day. He said that he was going to send out a